Yes, indeed, the marchers are still here at the corner of Julius Nyerere and King Dinizulu Park here in Durban. I think they are still trying to get themselves sorted out. They are about to move all the way using West Street to the City Hall, whereby they are also expecting to hand over their list of grievances to a government representative. At the moment, as you can see, Nomhlengubane is showing you just thousands or hundreds of people at the moment who are here. We're also seeing a large police contingent, also led by the SABC Metro. We can see water cannon trucks as well as Inyala. As you can see, some of the placards are being held aloft saying that away with inflation increases, Ramaphosa, no increases for service public servants, stop attack. Those are some of the placards that are being held aloft here as the PSA is engaging and also, embarking on this national or nationwide strike today, calling for a 10% increase for government employees and also the continuation of cash gratuity for the employees of government. Let's talk to the union, Hospesa, which was the latest to join PSA in solidarity with the demands. Just tell us, because we were the latest to join in solidarity the PSA, just tell us the reasons you have joined them.
All right, firstly, we are in solidarity to our sister union in the Federation, FEDUSA. PSA is an affiliate of FEDUSA, and we said this action of theirs needs to be supported because these are actions that's going to be rolling actions, and we also are going to start embarking on these type of actions because there's a breakdown of negotiations at the PSABC, and the only way we can voice the voice of our workers is through these type of actions. These are matters of mutual interest. We cannot arbitrate on them. So the only way to get the employer to hear the voices of the workers and the grievances is through these type of actions. So these are protest actions, which is to present the workers' voice and the grievances and the manner in which negotiations have broken down at the PSABC. Remember that the employer had decided to unilaterally implement the last offer, which is, in our opinion, bad faith, because you don't unilaterally implement a salary increase if there's a dispute on the table. You try and resolve the dispute, and if you cannot resolve the dispute, then our last resort is strike action. But by the employer behaving the way they did, they have broken down all the trust. I mean, the trust was already broken down in 2020 when they didn't implement the last leg of the 3-year agreement. Our public sector employees have received below inflation increases for the last 2 years. This is going to be the 3rd year. We cannot, and what we're saying is enough is enough. We cannot tolerate this kind of behavior by the largest employer in the country. And coming out of COVID, many of our members are in essential services. Is this how you treat employees that have been carrying the department and the government for the last 3 years? So we're taking a stand. We're saying in solidarity to PSA, we are supporting this action because we need the voices of the workers to be heard by government.
Government did say that they will discontinue cash gratuity. How will this affect you?
The cash gratuity was given last year, so you can't really factor it into this year's wage negotiations because it's already become part of the cost of living of our members in the last financial year. Government is saying it's worth 4.5%, but that 4.5% was already given to them last year. So really, with the continuation of the cash gratuity this year, there is no increase on the cash gratuity because it wasn't increased by another 1,000 rand. The only real increase that members are enjoying is the 1.5%, which was up to 3%. The pay progression, even the pay progression is not an improvement in conditions of service or cost of living. The pay progression is a cost of living, is a collective agreement we've had for many years. So the real increase public servants are getting against the inflation of over 7% is 3%. Now, how does that work? I mean, at least more is going to be paid out of the members' pockets for the cost of living. And we're saying you cannot continue like that, especially when you've got ESCOM and the SOEs and the parastatals getting 7%. How do you give How do you give nurses and doctors a 3% increase when they're carrying the lives of our population? You know.
And also, government employees haven't been having an increase for the past 3 years. How has that affected you in your everyday life?
The increases.
Yes.
Yes. 2020 they didn't get an increase. We understand it was COVID, so we didn't put up a fight. 2021, they forced an increase upon the unions, which we said coming out of COVID, we will still swallow it. But this year we said enough is enough. You cannot continue on this trend because the government is getting a bit too big for their boots in relation to the manner in which wage negotiations being carried out. They unilaterally implement, and we understand that we got members in the private sector. This kind of behavior is going to spill over from the public sector. If the private sector sees the public sector employer behaving like this, they're going to also take a similar stance. So we're saying you cannot unilaterally implement. It's an attack on our collective bargaining process. Our collective bargaining is regulated by laws. You can't just decide that we dispute but continue with the process. And we're saying enough is enough.
Okay.
Right, thank you so much.
That's Mr. Wahid Hussein, who's part of the General Secretary of the HOSPESA, who have joined the march in solidarity with the PSA, who are also leading today's nationwide strike against a government 3% proposal on the table, with PSA saying that they are still looking out for 10% increment and also the continuation of cash gratuity, because government is also proposing that it has to come to an end in March 2023. So these are the marchers who are part of the HOSPESA as well as PSA, which is the biggest union under the umbrella of FEDUSA, with more than 240,000 members who are government employees. And also here in the province of Kwazulu-Natal, they've got the largest, being more than 50,000 workers who are also belonging to PSA, against government, against Gauteng's 60,000 who are also part of the PSA members in the province of Gauteng. So these are the marchers. They are starting now their march to City Hall, where I'm told that Nomsa Dubengube, the Premier of the province, who was also expected by the PSA, they did speak to us earlier on that they are also expecting the Premier, but we are told that the Premier may not be the one who will be able to receive the memorandum, of grievances by these workers who are saying that they're demanding a 10% increase, as well as the continuation of cash gratuity, which also helped government employees, but government is saying that it will discontinue that cash gratuity in March 2023. As we are seeing the marchers going all the way to the City Hall. Later on today, they are saying that by 12 o'clock they'll be able to hand over their list of grievances. They are saying that some services by government will be disrupted. Departments such as Department of Labor, the courts, border controls. So those are some of the departments that will be affected, as well as the licensing departments. The issuing of licensing will be disrupted, but government did say that they do have contingency measures in place to ensure that the impact is being minimal.